Fun times.
And we're live. All right.
Huzzah!
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. It is officially 9:02 Central Time, which is the best time zone to be in. Nobody can convince me otherwise. Welcome to another episode of Sawdust Talk. I am Braden with Little Bug Woodworking, and we're excited to talk to Dillon from Sandman Wood Design tonight. So, hey, Dillon. Before we get started, we want to thank our sponsors. Thank you to Surfprep and George Supply Co. If you need to get stuff off of other stuff, Sandpaper will do the job and Surfprep will do it better than the other guy. So check them out. And then if you need to get the stuff to stick back to the other stuff that you just took off of the stuff with the sandpaper, George Supply Co. has some really good CA glue. So a little bit of this. Either way, end of the day, they're all good people. So check them out. Like I said, Braden, Little Bug Woodworking. I make this all up as I go, which is exactly how I would work. TJ, what's up, bud?
I'm TJ with TJT Workshop. I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. Most of the woodworking that I do spins around really fast on one of these things. But I do a little bit of metal work. That's a lathe back there. I do a little bit of metal work, a little bit of 3D printing. I don't know. I'm making a flat thing this week, which is kind of exciting. I've got to make a serving tray from a tree that I took down for a lady in town like 8 months ago. The wood's finally dry, so she gets a serving tray from a tree in her backyard. So that's a fun one.
Are you spinning the flat thing?
I tried really hard to convince her to let me make her a platter, something with like lips or like a dip spot in the middle. But she was like, no, these are pictures of what I want. And when somebody wants a thing, you just make that thing and down the road you go.
All right. Dillon.
Hello.
What's up, man? Who the heck are you?
I'm Dillon, Sandman Wood Design. I kind of make all sorts of things, mostly things oriented around the CNC. And then here recently we moved and started a new venture and opened up a store.
Like a physical storefront?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I want to talk about that a lot.
Okay.
And I'm guessing that's the sign behind you.
Yes.
So what's the store?
Flipped because I'm not fancy, but
Well, I have signs that do flip and I have signs that don't flip. So end of the day, it doesn't matter because none of it makes sense. And that's the world we live in. So why don't we kick this off? Let's start with the beginning. How did you get into making, into woodworking? I have always been really interested in where the name Sandman Wood Design came from. So why don't you take us back?
Okay.
And let's start from there.
Give you a little bit of a rundown. So let's see. What year was that? We're in 23. So that had to have been 2020, I think. February. I think it was February, maybe earlier. It might have been tail end of 2019, early 2020. So I was in the Marine Corps at the time, and we had another Marine going away, and kind of the tradition to kind of do plaques and going away gifts for people when they depart. And we started looking around town, and some of the professional called places wanted an astronomical amount for plaques and stuff. And so a buddy of mine was like, well, what can we do? Like, we're running out of time. We're running out of options. Like, what do we do? And at the time, I had like a very small shop. My shop now is still small, but I was working out of the garage. And a family friend of mine had made me one of the, I don't know if you've seen like the wooden flags and stuff that people make. He had made me one of those, and it was sitting in the garage, and I was looking at it. I was like that. So I talked to my buddy, and him and I kind of made it together. We went to home and bought some lumber, made the flag, and then that kind of spiraled into a thing. And it started with making the flag, and then it spiraled into buying a table saw and all sorts of things. And then because of the military, we moved every 2 to 3 years. But shortly after I made that first plaque, COVID hit in March of 2020, and they like shut us down. We were pretty much working from home, and I know that sounds weird to hear like about the military, but like that's what we were doing. We had our government computers. We were just working at home, and if we needed to go in, they would tell us. So that happened in March, shut everything down, and then I ended up getting out in June. But what's crazy about it is we were shut down from March until pretty much right when I got out. So I didn't know my last day of work was my last day of work. So I got out, kept making a few things here and there. Then October, we moved to North Carolina. And December time frame, I ordered my first CNC, the Onefinity. Got that. Man, the wait time for that back then was like 3-4 months. So I got it in April. And then that started a whole new journey. Learning that I could make custom things, that the sky was the limit, so to speak. And then just started making things. Things were, business was kind of slow. It was still kind of a new business. I didn't really know how to like market things or make things and do this or do that. And then after a few months, plaques started taking off. So like military going away gifts. That's where I started marketing, because we had just moved to a military town. So we started marketing that, started doing those, and then, so that was 2021 at this point, I think tail end of 2021. And then fast forward to March of 2022, I stumbled across a company called Phantom CNC, and they came out with a 4x4 industrial size CNC. And even though I didn't technically need the bigger CNC machine at the time, I was something bigger. Infinity at the time, they didn't have their 4x4. And so I was working with 32x32, and most of my flags that I was making were about 32 inches wide. So I was pretty much maxed out on that thing, and I needed to grow. So Phantom did their pre-order, ordered that, and then that came a lot. It was a lot longer of a wait than my Onefinity. I pre-ordered that in March and got it in September. And then we've just been cranking things out with that. And then March we moved again to upstate New York, and it is cold. And that's kind of the journey to this point. And then in this town, it's not a military town at all. It's very it's got like a country vibe, which I don't associate with New York too much. But it's very, there's not a lot here. We have one major chain restaurant, and it's Applebee's. You want to go somewhere else, you got to drive like 35-40 minutes.
Well, let's be honest. What other restaurants do you need but Applebee's?
I don't know, like an actual steakhouse. And then
like a Chili's, a real steakhouse.
No.
Maybe a Sizzler if you want a little ethnic spice to it.
We've got a few like mom and pop restaurants that are actually pretty decent. It's just it gets a little old when you're like, oh, where do we want to go to eat? And it's like Applebee's is the only restaurant. Then by the time you drive out 40 minutes to Rochester or somewhere else for another steakhouse, or even for, I don't know, what's another restaurant? Like a Chili's. You're 40 minutes there, 40 minutes back. You've wasted 2 hours of the day just driving. And then, so it's not a big town, but it's not a small town either.
It's an Applebee's sized town.
Yeah, pretty much. This is where the song came out about Applebee's on a date night. That's because that was the only thing in town. But I was trying to figure out how to market myself here. And it was really hard coming from a military town where 90% of its residents were military. So I couldn't figure out what to do. Probably spent 3 or 4 months just no sales, nothing going on. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Then I had to kind of like take a step back, and I was like, we just moved. This happened last time we moved. It took a few months to get in the groove of things. And in August, started walking around town, learning where places were, and I found a old mall. And in the mall, it's, when I say old, like there's somewhat of nothing in here. Like the J.C. Penney's in here closed down; they went out of business. So there's a few like mom and pop stores in here that aren't really doing a whole lot of anything. They've just been here for a long time, and didn't even know you could come in here. Like the place looked abandoned from the outside. So I came in and just walking around with a buddy, and saw a few spaces were for lease, and I was like, I don't know, like I've always wanted a storefront, but like I didn't know if I was ready, so to speak. So I started looking around, and I just out of the curiosity, I called one of the signs, called the realtor. He didn't call back for like 2 days. I was like, oh, that's not a good sign. Well, it turns out the space that I called about had just rented out. It's actually my neighbor. So he's like, well, there's a space next door to it. If you want to come look at it, same square footage, it's a little bit of a better space. You want to come look at it, I'm around tomorrow. So I came out, looked at it, walked in, and as soon as I walked in, I was like, this is perfect for a storefront displaying wooden products and stuff. So kind of figured out money to sign the lease and everything, and here we are, I guess.
Here we are. Did you? I can only assume, like, if I was looking for a mall space, like I would want to take over the food court. Did you get to take over the food court?
No,
like all of it. It's just all you.
So like this mall, like when I tell you it's old, it's so old that there isn't a food court. Yeah,
what?
It's really weird.
What's even the point of a mall without a food court?
So at some point, I'll take you guys on a little bit of a journey, because I have after hours access. Nobody else is in here, but I have never mind. I'm not going to say that.
Yeah. After hours access in a mall in St. Louis is like a fun way to get stabbed by a hobo. Don't take me to getting stabbed by a hobo, please.
Well, I was going to say I had a back door, but then I saw that going sideways real fast.
You're a deep thinker, bud. Okay, so you are displaying wood products in what in my mental canon was formerly a hot topic.
No, smaller, but kind of.
It's a
very
Spencer's.
Small hot topic.
I don't know what used to be here back in the day. I'm actually kind of curious. But I don't know. It's about 800 square feet, so it couldn't have been maybe a Foot Locker, maybe.
Oh, right. I know what it was. It was definitely one of those like Far East like stores where you could get the trinkets and the jade and the samurai swords.
Well, funny enough, actually, so I think 2 owners ago was like a stone store. They sold like the crystals and who knows what. And then after that, it was a yoga studio, and then I don't know.
So this is like
Ninja's equipment.
This is like the store space, like storefront space for all of the elements. You've got earth, rocks. You've got, I guess, yoga could be air. Your wood. Like we could turn this thing into like a game of Catan.
Yeah, like if you got the laser going on premise, there's your fire. You're about to summon Planet, bro. This is gonna be awesome.
It's actually kind of funny because I did move the laser in here. Because at the time when I got the storefront, the garage shop at the house didn't have heat or anything. And when we first moved here, I don't know if Braden saw or you saw when I first moved here, but my laser tube did not survive the cold weather on the move here. So I had to buy a new laser tube. And with me not having heat at the shop, I rapidly made the decision to move it here where it's heated and cooled. And that way I can kind of provide on-the-spot engraving as well. So that kind of helped. What else?
Well, we set it up so that we could. Go ahead.
I said that you have an accomplice that's been helping you with the painting
So
and the outfitting.
I have 2 accomplices, actually. So
Yeah.
one of them is Andrew from 2511 Woodworking. He's got a space in here, so that's kind of how the store's set up. It's a consignment store of sorts, and then I've got my custom cutting boards and whatever else not, which I need to build an inventory up, and I just kind of threw some stuff in here. But that's beside the point. And then the second accomplice is my daughter that turns 4 in January. Once COVID hit and I got kicked out of my job, so to speak, became the stay-at-home dad real fast. So she's been with me day in and day out since she was pretty much born. And then with the cost of childcare and everything, we just never saw putting her in childcare really necessary, especially because I worked from home and I was going to school at the time. And so when I opened the store, I was like, well, I guess she's coming to work with me. She missed the cutoff for New York State by 30 days to go to pre-K. So she gets to go next year.
Right on.
Is it another October birthday?
No, it's January 1st, and the cutoff is December 1st.
I have a child that also missed the cutoff for pre-K by like a month as well. The extra year of daycare it's rough. I'd be lying if I didn't say I shed a tear when they told us, yeah, you're just gonna have to keep her in daycare for another year.
Yeah, I no. There's some times where like I wish she was in daycare, and it's not because she's a bad kid or anything. It's just because of the simple fact that like sometimes like you need some alone time, but not only that, like she needs physical learning and activities, and she doesn't really, because she was born a COVID baby, she doesn't get a whole lot of that. And then, like I said, the cost of childcare just didn't make sense.
So can she run the CNC, or is she more of a laser gal?
What
heavy machinery have you trained this kid on?
So she's somewhat proficiently trained in turning the CNC machine on. She knows which button. Oh, we had a little bit of lag there.
Yeah, you
so
might
she knows
have
how to turn it on.
Her proficiency at turning on the CNC, and then.
Yeah, that's about it.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty much the gist of what she knows. She knows like that the laser does things, but she doesn't quite know how to use it. But the laser is a little more sensitive, and if you knock it too hard, it might move the laser out, whereas the CNC is going to knock her over. So she tries to watch the laser run in here, and it just trying to keep her away from it so that she doesn't mess an engraving up or something. It's a challenge.
Well, yeah, it's just like moths to the flame, you know? You turn on a shiny blue light and ooh, ah.
I cranked the heat up before I got in here, and now it's like really hot.
Man, turning on the CNC, that's exactly what I want, or what everybody wants the toddlers to know how to do. Nothing else, just how to turn on the heavy machinery.
Well, it's funny because I was actually talking with my wife about it. I think it was like 2 nights ago. Because my wife started, when I opened the store, she started making soaps. And so when she started doing that, and then now like with me doing the store and doing the woodworking and everything, and going to college, like I was like, when she grows up, that she's gonna have plenty of options. You want to learn how to run a CNC? We got you. Want to learn how to run a laser? We could do that too. Want to learn how to use Photoshop? We're somewhat okay in that, but she's got options. So
okay, so just so that I'm
question.
getting all of the pieces of this puzzle put together right. Your wife is making soap. You have after hours access to a mall.
Mhm.
Are you running an underground fight club?
This sounds exactly like we're gonna find out. Like your realtor is an HGTV host, and you guys have a $3 million budget.
See, if that was the case, I think I'd have a lot bigger of a CNC machine. And then to TJ, we're just going to say rule number 1, and that's the end of that.
Understood. I'm just putting the pieces of the puzzle together. That's all.
No, I'm just kidding.
Did you guys ever notice that like every time they talked about the first rule of Fight Club, they were always like giggling, and the fact that Fight Club was growing meant that nobody listened to rule number 1?
Oh yeah.
It's valid.
Like, nobody's listening to rules around here.
Yeah. Bunch of renegade existentialists beating the mess out of each other. Jeez.
Okay, so we got a question in the chat on IG that it's relevant to the conversation right now. So Rob and Strom Designs want to know how the store space is doing now. Like, are you getting traffic? What does that look like? What's your day look like there?
So the traffic is slow, but it has progressively picked up. In the beginning, there was I think I was open for like 2 weeks before I got my first sale. And then last week was, I think we hit a month of being open, and last week was probably the somewhat busiest week. We had a few sales last week, more than average, like well over average. And then this week was back to just slow. It's been hit and miss, really, and that's the challenge that I face almost every day. Is it's like as I'm sitting here with my daughter watching Netflix or doing whatever, it's, is this worth my time? And then every time that I ask that question, I'll text Andrew from 2511, because him and I essentially built this store together. He's a really solid dude. He's helped me with so much that it's not even funny. He's been around for the storefront build. He helped me build my fence, helped me do the garage shop with the drywall and everything. And like before I moved here, we hadn't even met in person. And John and I from Character Red, we were doing the Stop Soldier Suicide stuff. And he had commented on one of the posts saying that as a veteran, that's a follow for me and whatnot. So naturally, I went and checked his profile out and make sure it wasn't a bot or whatever. And so I went to go follow him back, and I saw in his profile description it said Batavia, New York. And I was like, there's no way. Like, what are the odds that I'm moving somewhere that there is another woodworker in the area? So I messaged him, and he was like, "You're moving here?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Are you sure it's not Batavia, Illinois?" And I was like, I'm pretty positive. And then I moved here, and he just came over one day and started helping me do things. And
Andrew participates in the Royal Order of Woodturners as well, and I've gotten to know him pretty well through that. So that's why I wanted to give you a little ribbing about your accomplice. So yeah, you chose wisely.
He's a solid thing. I traded one okay guy for another okay guy. Because for those that are watching on Instagram, they know how John and I are pretty much attached to the hip, and then he just kind of fell off the face of the earth. So
I mean, he's coaching high school football now.
Well, see, I mean, he moved back home after he retired, and this is the first time in several years that he's been able to be, because he was also military too. So like this is the first time that he's been able to be present in his family's lives and stuff for a good chunk of time. And he came back just at the right time of football season, and his nephew's on the either the JV team or the varsity team, one or the other. And so he came back right at the right time for that. But that's why we've been a little absent from our lives and stuff. We were doing them every week, and now I don't think I've done a live in probably 2-3 months, maybe longer. So.
All right, so you set up another camera. Let's go on a tour. I want to see the shop space.
You're gonna have to yell at me if I'm going too fast, because I can't see it on my phone.
Your face is. Oh, can I? Is there a microphone on the other one?
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So
I would just
I
like
don't
to
know if
point
it's gonna
out
be too
that
bad.
this makes Sawdust Talk look so fancy.
Can you see?
We can
All right,
see.
there's a little bit of lag, so I just need to go slow. Right?
Oh wait, hold on. I think we
Well,
can
here.
do.
If I do this, I'll just walk around my computer so I can see. So we got this nice window in the front.
Oh, lovely.
Then we got some products laid out on the table, just kind of people. Wow, this thing is backwards and that's really tripping me out. We got some
Now, are
products
those personalized skillets?
No, so some of them are, which I'll pan to if it pans correctly. So some of these are personalized.
Cool.
So that one's got. See, it's backwards. Can I flip me? How do I flip?
It looks forwards to me. It says
Yeah, it's
take me
forwards.
camping.
Okay, so on my screen it's backwards, which is weird. But there's a few different like custom ones. There's a 911 one up here. Where is it? Bunch of different things.
So, is customized skillets a thing?
Apparently.
Dude, those are
I
awesome.
had no idea.
But all sorts of different things, and I learned that you can actually laser engrave and CNC skillets because like some of these are you can tell they're laser engraved. Where to go? The camera's so backwards. Like that's laser engraved.
I'm sorry. Did you say CNC skillets also?
Yeah. So like some of like where's this one? So if you look at this one, like that groove, you can't see it well on the camera here because it's backwards and it's really tripping me out. But that's like almost like a V groove in there.
And you just use a carbide cutter head and slow the speed down?
I would assume so. I mean, I did a little bit of research and found that you can mill them on a CNC machine. So I don't know exactly what it entails, but it's possible.
He just uses 4 regular upcut bits on every carve. It just snaps every time around.
Well, I mean, high-speed steel should cut cast iron.
I would think.
Assuming it hasn't. Yeah.
But if you stand at the front of the store, it looks kind of open in the center because I'm waiting. He's probably not in this live, but if he is, he knows this is for him. That I'm waiting on your table to go in the center here. But it's a pretty good size space. There's room for expansion if I want to add a few more over here on this wall.
I like that you guys got a little stash of slab wood over there on the wall too. That's cool.
That's what I was just going to ask about.
Yeah,
so we're selling raw materials.
So let me back up. So this thing will. So we got some slabs. We got some walnut. There's some ash, beech, and then the maple one sold. So I sold that one, but this beech is really pretty.
Well, son of a beech.
It's weird because I'm moving my phone left and it's like going right. So it's like really trippy. But we got some slabs in here, some custom signs and stuff. And then we got a bunch of Andrew's stuff over here, wood turnings and fancy pens. Have you seen these pens, TJ?
Yes, sir.
Where'd they go?
Yeah.
So for anybody that's listening that doesn't have the video, later he just showed wooden pens. Use your imagination, TV.
Yeah.
I got my wife's soaps over here. And then my section, which, like I said, I need to build a little bit more inventory. And then I got some candles from All American Maker. These things are pretty sweet. Oh, and then the little wiener floating around over here. And for those of you that don't know, so that you're not confused by little wiener because it's a person, that's Scott from the Crafty Wiener. So he just kind of hangs out and moves around all over the shop. So
it's a name. It's not a thing. Don't demonetize us. We haven't started, but
put the 3D print. So this, I don't know if you can see it because I got to back up pretty far. So this, man, this is really weird. So this counter that you're looking at here, that was fun to get in here because it is literally a 4-foot by 8-foot cabinet. And I brought
And
that
how
in through
did
the
you
front
fit a 4-foot cabinet through a 3-foot door?
So it's 34.5 inches tall. So I flipped it on its side and rolled it in here.
Very cool.
But yeah, that's pretty much the. Can we turn this off? How do we turn this off? Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Oh, and then in here is the suite.
Oh,
yes, the ensuite Netflix room. Very nice.
The George Costanza nap suite.
Oh, it's funny because I put that in there for her, and I got her this couch. You went on Amazon, found a couch, and it was perfect because the couch fits. It's got like 3 inches on each side of it, and it folds out into like a little bed. And I bring I had this little fold-up chair behind me over there somewhere, and literally, like within 2 days of being here, she wanted nothing to do with the couch, wanted my chair. So I either had to stand around or sit on her couch, and it looked really funny. And then
I was gonna say, you were in the military. You know, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean, right?
Yeah, that's very valid. And then this morning, I decided to bring the office chair in here because it's got wheels and it reclines.
So the consignment stuff, how are you handling the consignment stuff? Like, how are you looking to grow that?
So one thing that I've kind of done that's helped grow it a little bit, for some, so I don't want to say everybody, but for the most part, most of the people on my consignment in here don't have websites. And when I already have a website, so when I opened the store, I made the decision to just put all of the consignment items on the website, but I've got them like categorized so you can see by like category and stuff. So they essentially get a free website. I mean, it's not really free, but it kind of is. So they essentially get a website included, and then literally, if they got if they don't have an Etsy channel or whatever, and they got somebody that wants to buy something, they can literally just go to my website, and then I just grab it from the shelf and just print, ship, and send. And I've had a few of those where I've had to send for somebody or grab it and get it to them, or somebody local came in and picked it up or whatever. So that's kind of the gist of scaling a little bit on that. I want to expand. That's like the ultimate goal. But it's going to be a slow going kind of expand. Because I've got space for, right now I've got one more 5-foot open and a 3-foot. But I'm trying to slowly expand it to a point to where we kind of bring in a little more traffic and business first before I bring in 2 other people. But for the most part, everybody that's in here now is either a really close friend or really trust the process, I guess. I mean, Andrew, as soon as I started talking about the story, he's like, I'm in. I want a space. I was like, okay. And then my grandfather's got a space, and so it's some of it's close friends, some of it's family, and eventually I want to scale it and kind of make it bigger. I have seen quite a few other stores kind of like this in other locations, and they seem to do okay. I guess it's just all about the marketing and getting the word out there. Because like I said, the mall was somewhat abandoned, so a lot of people still think that you can't really come in here, and they didn't know it was open. And I had somebody just the other day that came in here, and they're like, oh, they cleaned up all the rain buckets. And I was like, what rain buckets? Because this was before like my time, and I guess the roof was shot. It was leaking everywhere, and they came in and repaired all that. So like the last time that person had been in the mall was like 2-3 years ago, and that's the image they had in their head was, oh, it's just rain bucket central. So getting the word out there is starting to happen. It's starting to pick up. We just got in our food court. We have a business called Everybody Eats. They just moved in and they started making like sandwiches and stuff. And they've been bringing some life to the mall and bringing people in here for food and whatnot. And it's actually pretty good. And then City Hall's directly attached to the building. So if I have any grievances with the city, I can just walk on over and tell them what's up. Sometimes they're not too nice because they limit the hours that we can work here, but that's neither here nor there. Tomorrow, obviously, the mall's closed. It's Thanksgiving. And then, like, Sundays, the mall's not open. So there's some weird days, and it's a little tricky getting a store going when you got somebody else telling you, hey, you can't stay open past 5 o'clock. I mean, I could stay open, but then I got to either go let somebody in the store, which means that they have to know it's here and they're coming specifically for the store, or I have to let them in the door across the way there. And it's okay.
Shady back alley cutting board deals. Like, hey, just come around back.
Mm-hmm.
This one fell off the back of a truck, from a shipment.
Yeah, but this
got you a good
one's
deal on this one.
eco-boxy.
You're looking for
stuff.
You're looking for the zebra wood?
There you go. You want some of that deep pour? Okay.
We got ourselves a 10-second cutting board here. We had to import parts from Japan overnight.
But no, it's been a journey for sure.
So have you considered that just based on the fact that you've got one restaurant, one sandwich bar, you could probably like quadruple your foot traffic if you could like just haul in a Blackstone grill and do in-store hibachi as well?
Then I might be competing with the guys down the street or down the hallway, and they're not bad guys. They hook me up sometimes, so.
Well, I mean, you hook them up. You flip a couple shrimp down the hall.
It was actually funny because the other day I was sitting in here with nothing to do, and I have those the metal engraving plates, and I have a cutter here so I could just cut them up. And I had some scraps sitting around, so I cut up like a little 5x7 piece, threw their logo on it with a QR code to their website and their phone number, and I walked it over there. I was like, "Hey, you guys want this?" And they're like, "Wait, what?" They like saw it and they're like, "That's cool as hell." So they stuck it to the window of the door so that when they're closed, people can scan the little code or or text the number for an order or whatever.
Nice.
So they thought that was pretty neat. And then I'm just trying to figure out marketing. Really, I just placed an order with my supplier for some the leatherette like ornaments, and at the cost of those, marketing's cheap, so to speak. So I could take some of those, laser engrave some local businesses on them, put my logo or QR code on the back or business address, whatever, and just take them around to a few of the businesses that have trees and stuff and let them just hang them. And then eventually they'll be like, oh, we need coasters, or we need this, or so. Just trying to introduce myself, so to speak.
Are you choosing to rely for the most part on networking and feet on the street for your marketing, or have you been purchasing targeted Facebook stuff or
wacky wavy?
I know the bustling metropolis of Batavia is a narrow circle, but
yeah, it is
a capacity for commission work.
It is a narrower circle, and the part of the challenge here is most of the people that I've seen out and about or walking around, you've got two crowds. It's either the old enough to be my grandparents' crowd, or the I'm still in high school about to go to college crowd, or the third crowd that's, hey, I work on the farm and that's all I got. And there's nothing wrong with that. So it's trying to figure out which crowds to market to, because I know that the teenagers aren't the ones really buying anything here, and the college students are broke as it is. I mean, that's everywhere. And then so they're not really my crowd of marketing. So it's either the farmers or the older generations. And so I think Instagram and Facebook are kind of on the backish burner, so to speak, for around here. So I did. Google had like some bonus, like spend $500 in ads and get $500 or something like that. It was some silly number. So I just did that for now and just running with that. And then every time I go somewhere, if I see somebody looking at something or talking about something, I'm like, hey, we got a store. So I'm just kind of trying all over the place and jumping around. And I still have some customers that hit me up from previous that see some of the stuff and buy some soaps or something new, just because it's something new to the website. It's something new that we haven't had, and they see it and they're like, oh, I've been looking for something like that. So that's kind of the neat part about running a consignment store is I'm essentially a one-stop shop, so to speak. But it's every time somebody comes in here, they're like, what do you have? And I'm like, well, what are you looking for? I mean, we pretty much got just about, I don't want to say just about everything, but we got everything from cookware to signs to soaps to candles, like cutting boards. You can't, there's only so much more than we had.
No hibachi, though. So
No.
not a true one-stop shop.
But look, all I'm saying is he's going to get the flat top out once somebody gets their table in the middle of the space. Andrew.
No, it's not Andrew.
Oh, who's going to make a table?
That would be he'd need a really big lathe for that table.
Well, again, you got to be careful what you ask for.
This is fair. Let's see if he's in the live.
If you wanted to lathe create a table, would you try and go width to get it like round, or would you try and go length and you just have a weird tubular table that doesn't actually work?
You'd make a big round one. And I think I could swing most of a 5-foot table in my shop.
On a lathe?
Yeah.
Okay, now
by lathe, do you mean you have a ceiling fan that you've like taken the fans off of and you just like hang the wood from and just like bash it with lathe tools?
All right. So this guy back here, normally the wood connects to this little silvery bit right here. Okay. And it has to swing between the table and that silvery bit, right?
Okay.
I built this custom jobby here that doesn't have one of those silvery bits. So I've got like, in theory, I don't know, like 30.
Okay, hear me out.
7 inches of swing.
Braden's on something here. Mount that sucker to the ceiling.
And
then just.
Yeah, just run around, just knocking into it with sharp things.
I mean, I don't know how tall you are.
That's all that wood turning is knocking into wood with sharp things into your hand. Anybody tries to tell you otherwise is lying.
Yeah, but then now you could do it with your arms above your head. Everybody knows arms above your head is the safest position to be working with heavy machinery.
Yeah, that's what we learned in baseball, right? Feet shoulder width apart, arms above your head, right? That's what our coaches taught us.
I did a lot of overhead arm things the other night, and my body was a little sore. No, so okay, I see the looks. So when we bought the house, the garage is detached, and it's a 3-car garage. But my wife, love her to death, and if she's watching this, love you. But the 3-car garage, she somehow talked the woodworker that always needs extra space into giving her the 1-car door. So I built a partition wall separating the two sides.
Okay.
But she has a Mustang, and the doors, I don't know if you've ever been into a Mustang, but the doors they open really wide. And so now's the first time she's been parking in the garage. But that's why I was using my arms, because I had to put drywall on the ceiling, because I'm about to insulate the ceiling probably this weekend, because I got my mini split in, and the heat is just rapidly escaping into the ceiling because it's so cold outside. and then it's disappearing. So it's not really warming the shop, and it works. I checked the heat, the temperature coming out of the mini split, and it was blowing like 104 on its highest setting. So I know it works. It's just the fact that I've got probably 20 by 30 overhead space that's not insulated, and all the heat's just going up there, and it's got 2 gable fans or vents or whatever you want to call them, and so all the heat is going up and then just out,
running away through a whirlybird on top of your shop.
Yeah, pretty much. So I put drywall on her side, and then added some more storage to the attic space in there. But then I gotta do drywall, and she didn't have a garage door opener, so I had to put that up by myself. And Andrew was too busy to come help me.
Andrew,
selfish.
Well, okay, so
shame.
Here's why working with Andrew is perfect. So I know I'm sitting in a chair, and if you've met me in person, you know I'm 6'3", and so sometimes when you work with other people, if they're shorter than you are, or even if they're taller, if you are shorter, it gets a little awkward trying to lift things up into place when somebody's a foot shorter than you. So Andrew just so happens to be 6'2", 6'3". He's about my height, so it works out that literally we move at the same time, and it's not I'm up here and then he's down here. So it just works.
I have been cultivating a posse of tall people to be my friend crowd, and they all know that I'm collecting tall people to get things off of the high shelves for me.
You're the exact reason why it's not fun to be tall. I can't tell you how many times I've been walking around the grocery store or somewhere, and somebody like catches me and like, hey, can you grab me that can of hot sauce off the top shelf? I can't reach it.
Yeah, but you can. Yeah. But you
being
can.
Being
you're
tall
a good
is like,
mensch, and you're a helpy helperton.
Yeah, being tall is like the physical equivalent of owning a truck. It's super handy, but everybody wants to take advantage of it, and it's super annoying because of that.
Yeah, and it has some disadvantages too.
You're not so good at hide and seek.
That is a valid point.
Flying on airplanes, not your forte.
Flying on airplanes sucks. However, if you are tall and you're flying on airplanes, the best seat is the exit seat that doesn't have a seat in front of it, because then you've got like 6 feet of legroom. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's true whether you're tall or not. That's just the best seat in the plane.
That's fair. But I found that to be the best seat for tall people, so to speak. But no, when I got I have a 6x12 enclosed trailer, and when I went and looked at that thing, the guy was like, he looked at me, he's like, you want to look at this one? I was like, what does that mean? And he was like, most trailers come standard at like 6 foot height, and he's like, you don't want that. And I was like, no, I don't want to have to duck. And he was like, this one has a 7 foot high clearance. So literally the inside is 7 foot high, so I don't have to worry about hitting my head on anything, and it's perfect.
And what do you keep hidden in your 7 foot tall trailer?
At the moment, because the Mustang took over the garage space, at the moment the lawnmower and ATV are in there.
That's where his ceiling mounted lathe lives. It's in a trailer. It's just a trailer of death.
I actually wanted to outfit the trailer at one point to be like a mobile like workshop. Before I got rid of the Onefinity, I was going to take it to like craft fairs and stuff, and just basically provide it with like a generator and power, and just run the Onefinity out of the trailer. But that was very short lived.
Does the Onefinity run on 120 or 240 power?
It runs on an electric plug. It's 110.
Okay.
Yeah. I've kicked around that idea, like the idea of making stuff at craft fairs. And could you imagine being at a craft fair and you get a bit that is just anything but as sharp as possible, and your CNC is just like screeching in the middle of like some high school gym or something like that?
I could see that. It's something that like I don't want to say it's newer, but I've seen a lot of people getting is either the X tool, the little like portable one that like sits like on the desktop, but it's like yay big. It's not too big.
The laser.
Yeah. Or the there's another company,
Laser Pecker.
Yeah, that one. I saw that one at Brunt at a work. What was that? Maker Camp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
No, I actually own a laser pecker. It is a fun little tool with a tragic name.
It's a fun name. It's fun.
It's a weird name.
Well, trust me, before like it had become sort of ubiquitous amongst the maker folk, right? And you start bragging to people about having a laser pecker, they're like, "You have a what, sir?"
You heard me.
Yeah.
I got my laser pecker, and I got sharks with friggin' laser beams attached to their heads.
I would imagine the laser pecker comes pretty useful on like bowls and stuff.
Oh yeah, well, because the different thickness of bowls and depths and stuff, like being able to set it up on a tripod or on a gimbal and zap a 4x4 onto the bottom of a bowl has been really, really good to my business. People love doing great big salad bowls as like wedding gifts has been huge. And so just doing like a quick embroidery style set of initials on the bottom and then like a date, I'd probably do one of those a month at least.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I'm not a full-timer. It's just people ask for them.
Part-time laser.
Yeah, I don't know what I do anymore.
You own a soap shop that has wood products.
Well, so the one downside to opening the store that I've found is all I've got here is the laser. So at the house, before the store, when my daughter went to, we called it nap time in the beginning, but now it's quiet time, and quickly transition to quiet time because she doesn't want to take naps anymore. So I had probably 3 hours in the mid afternoon from like 12 to 3 to go work in the shop, and then I had, when she went down to bed at like 7:30, I would go back out to the shop and work for 3-4 hours. And now opening a storefront, I lost that 3 hours in the middle of the day. So here and there, when I've got some commission orders over the last month of having the store, it's really caught up to me, the fact that I lost that 3 hours. It doesn't sound like a whole lot of time, but that's what, 3 hours at 6 days a week, 7 days a week. You know, you're talking 33 hours, depending on the day. So I lost all that.
Losing a part-time employee, man.
Yeah, it has its ups and downs. But I mean, at the same time, it kind of sucks for the people on consignment, but if I need to shut the shop down for an hour or two and go work on something, I can.
Very cool.
And then, so we got some questions. So
I've been collecting the Instagram comment questions. Also, if you're listening, now's the time. If you've got any other questions for Dillon, throw them in the chat, and we're gonna start answering. So your first one came from 9 Strong Creations. What's your number one must-have piece of equipment for the shop?
It's either one of two things, because I can't live without either one of them. It's either the CNC machine, because you can do just about anything on it, or dust collection. Without dust collection, the shop is a mess. And I feel sorry for you, TJ.
Yeah.
Because I've seen Andrew's floor quite a few, and it's everywhere.
Friggin' lathe guys.
Lathe weirdos.
I tried telling him, like, couldn't you build a box and like let the sawdust fall into a thing and then have a dust collector like pull it up? And he's like, yeah, no, that wouldn't work.
Yeah, like when you're sanding, you can collect sanding dust because it's light and it won't completely clog your impeller. But yeah,
all right.
I have to clean my shop with a scoop shovel, like for a horse stable. It's It's pretty fun.
Hear me out. A positive pressure box built around your lathe that you just stand in, and just everything is just being sucked into the ceiling at all times. So I mean,
There would have to be a lot of force.
I'm thinking 3
Like we're talking
dust gorillas.
We're talking probably like Jonathan Katzmosis, like his old dust collector that he had when he first moved into that big space. Like you'd have to have one of those hooked up to the box.
I'm not seeing a problem. It seems super practical, very efficient.
Next thing you know, TJ gets sucked into the dust collector.
Yeah, or TJ starts hanging a cigar out of his mouth while he's turning because all fumes are now evacuated.
Okay, so
we might get something.
We get your lathe and we move it into one of those like indoor skydiving buildings. And
that's enough CFM.
Just yeeting sawdust out the top at all times.
So basically, I'm going to be standing on an air hockey table.
Yes.
Driven by skydiving fans for indoor?
I think so.
Yes.
I think that's the only logical next step in the lathe technology.
You buy the Powerball ticket, bud, and we'll split it 50-50.
But hear me out. We just reverse the dust collector to go the other way so that it blows, like a really powerful dust collector. So it just blows the sawdust up, and then you have another dust collector on top of it that just sucks it all in. So it goes into a chute, and then just...
And you're constantly having to worry about all of you and the machinery just like hovering just a little bit. Just kind of...
Nah, I wear magnet shoes like in that Zelda game where you have the steel boots. It's fine. That'll be fine.
I feel like we've solved the problem. I think we got it figured out.
Yeah, just we'll put some ski bindings and epoxy them to the floor. I got this great big jug of liquid epoxy over here. I just epoxy myself to the floor.
I don't like this.
All right, are you and John going to be at Workbench Con this year?
I don't like the answer to that.
I don't like
the question as a whole.
I don't like the road that it's headed down.
So,
that's right. Know. You got banned last year because of the incident, didn't you?
I'm surprised we didn't get banned. So, I don't want to speak for John 100%, but I don't think he'll be there. It's kind of up in the air. And then as for me, I don't necessarily know that I'll be there either. So last year I went with Phantom. The guys over at Phantom brought me along, and because I'm multiple things apparently. So I got the 4x4 machine from them. I was literally the first machine to roll out of the warehouse. So I am the 4x4 guru, so to speak. So I get a lot of questions about 4x4s and how to do this or how to do that with them. But I'm also technically one of their content creators. So they brought me along to Workbench Con. And then that was the only reason I went last year. They asked, and it happened to be that I don't remember if my wife was back from her training or not. I don't remember. But that somewhat helped. It was really bad timing for Workbench Con, but I somehow made it happen. Because I went to Workbench Con, came back, and then 2 weeks later we moved. And Workbench Con was 7 hours from me. And I'm originally from the Atlanta area. So I've done that drive a few times when we were in North Carolina. And now that we're in upstate New York, we're talking 11, 12 hours. And I don't know if it's worth the cost. I would fly, but then that adds to the cost. And if I drive, it's cheaper. But if I fly, then I got that expense. And I got hotels, and then the cost of Workbench has gone up significantly. So,
all right,
I don't know.
Phantom, I'm putting you guys on blast. Let's get your boy there. Let's get it done.
Well, see, the other side to that equation, and this is what's crazy. So my wife, she's still active duty in the Marine Corps, and she does recruiting for the Marine Corps, which is why we're in a small town in the middle of nowhere, and not near a military base. But she works probably 60, 70 hours a week, if not more, Monday through Saturday, unless there's a holiday. So with the little one and Workbench Con not allowing little ones, actually, I don't think I'd feel comfortable taking the little one to Workbench Con. But with all that combined, it becomes a really big logistical nightmare to go to Workbench Con.
Technically, it's not a little kid. Technically, it is a short CNC operator.
No, you guys aren't two different people. You're one extremely tall person in a trench coat and backpack.
Yeah, you just need a Phantom branded backpack, and then you're good.
Yeah, just give her the Yoda treatment, man. Like,
it's your seeing eye kid.
It's just so that was part of the reason I did that last year. Was I knew with the move and the new job and everything that things were going to be really hectic, and so I kind of took advantage of it. And I went to IWF, I went to Maker Camp, Maker Camp was a funny story last year. Decided Thursday at like 8 o'clock that I was going to Maker Camp, and it was a 12-hour drive. So I left at like 6 o'clock in the morning to get there by Friday night. And then the Workbench Con. And then I didn't plan to go to Maker Camp this year. And then 3 days beforehand, my wife was like, hey, I've got 4 days off. Go to Maker Camp. And I was like, cool, gone. Don't say anymore. Which that was almost bad timing because Maker Camp was 2 weeks, or it was either a week or two before I opened the store. So I had the store going on and then Maker Camp. But I made it work.
At least the drive was shorter.
Yes. I think it was about 4.5 hours. So it wasn't terrible. It's a lot easier to do that one because it's closer. And then I don't know. All that to say that Workbench Con will probably not happen this year.
So if you're listening, make sure to look for a tall person in a trench coat wearing Phantom branded stuff, and don't say nothing.
Or second option on my website, all the way down at the bottom, it says for Stop Soldier Suicide. But if you want to sponsor my trip to go to Workbench Con, you can just leave donations, and we'll put that in the pool. No, I'm sure that if I really could figure some things out, I could make it work. It just might be tight.
All right. Sounds like a firm commit there. So number one rule in sales, once you get the answer you want, stop asking questions. So
I'm starting to learn that one all too well here.
All right. Well, we're coming up on our hour, and I know it's late for you because we just love abusing everybody on the East Coast time zones. So we'll go ahead and start wrapping it up. Special thanks to our sponsors, Surfprep. I almost said, I don't know who I just said. Surfprep. If you're looking for a sander this Black Friday, they're going to do 15% off all of their stuff except for the POV 8, which is a distinction that is important to know. But everything else, 15% off. We're going to throw a link in our bio so that you can check that out. But end of the day, Surfprep's awesome. We love them. They're fantastic. George Supply Co. also fantastic. We couldn't do what we do without Scott over there. Just egging us on with his nonsense. He just settle down, man.
He's the best of the cheerleaders, though.
He really is.
Yeah.
And he tells funny jokes every single week. He tells a funny joke when he talks about the guest and the episode. And I'm like, man, I really should get him just doing our marketing. So thank you, Scott. Thank you, Surfprep. This is the last week for the Maker project for Makers for St. Jude. We did crack $10,000. Mike hit his $10,000 goal for the year. So now we're going to make it $20,000, and we've got until the end of the year to hit $20,000. So go get involved. It's all going to St. Jude's, which if you can't support fighting children's cancer, then this is not the right place for you. So get. That's about it. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Next week, we're going to have a great guest. And now I'm rambling. So, TJ, I'm going to yeet it on over to you.
Very good. All right, Dillon. Normally at the end of every episode, I like to ask our guest to give us a quote or a thought or an idea that's going to motivate us to kick open our shop doors, get in there, pick up a tool, make a mess, get awesome, or maybe just a piece of advice that you wish that somebody had told you sooner. What would that be for you?
As funny as it is, I see this every week. And when I knew I was coming on here, I was like, oh, I'm going to prepare something. And I completely forgot to. Anyway, no. So the big thing that I've been struggling with lately that like, I kind of wish somebody told me. So I've been kind of like in a rut where like, I'll go through a few days here at the storefront. I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not progressing. I'm not moving forward. I'm not seeing any growth, so to speak. And it wasn't until somebody told me to take a look back 3 years ago. And when I took a look back 3 years ago, I didn't have a dedicated shop. I didn't even have my first CNC machine. And I didn't have a storefront, that's for sure. So when you're stuck in a rut and you're thinking that you haven't gone anywhere, take a look back 3 years ago. And I promise you that the person you were 3 years ago and the business that you had 3 years ago will be completely different when you look back into the past. And while 3 years seems like a large chunk of time, it's really not. But that's all I got.
Yeah, I like that. Take a quick lap backwards through your history, even on the Instagram, and look at what you made 3 years ago versus where you are now.
You'll see some pretty wild growth, even if you think you haven't progressed. So.
Absolutely.
Well, all right,
boys and girls. Well, we will see you next week, right?
Next week,
same bat time,
same bat channel.
Same bat channel.
That's right. We probably have a guest. I think we do. I'm 100% sure that we probably do. So anyway, all right, guys. See ya.
Later.